In 2011, action movies changed forever. From nowhere, an action star kicked his way into our collective consciousness, and at the same time, it made action scenes like this obsolete. And just 3 years later, it was followed up by this. One of the most memorable fight scenes ever put to film. Iko Uwais was primed to hit Hollywood and become the best action star ever, beating Bruce, Jackie, and Jet. But 10 years later, he's almost nowhere to be seen. So, what happened? Iko Uwais was born in 1983 in Jakarta, Indonesia, into a family passionate about the traditional art of pencak silat. At just 8 years old, under his uncle and his grandfather's tutelage, he was taught the discipline before moving into silat tournaments. However, this wasn't a career path that he chose to pursue, and neither were movies. Instead, he learned graphic design and eventually became a driver for the company ISA. In another world, that's where the story would have ended. But just like pretty much all the stories in this series so far, fate struck. Because in 2007, Welsh filmmaker Gareth Evans went to Jakarta to film a documentary about pencak silat. And whilst there, he visited several silat schools, including Iko's family gym. It was there that he met Iko and the two hit it off. Evans was hugely impressed with his abilities and his on-screen presence. This sparked something in Evans' mind. He decided to scrap the documentary and make a movie instead. The movie was called Merantau. Released in 2009 with Iko starring in the leading role, despite having no acting training at all.
I didn't want people who are from Silat background to watch this movie and then say, oh, okay, there's your actor. There's your actor who's been trained up. I wanted them to see each of the moves and realize that they would be performed by professionals in Silat.
Made for just roughly $1.1 million, the movie was by no means a hit, making only $152,000 at the box office. But it did get critical praise and also featured at Action Fest 2010. This was Iko's debut movie, but also it was really Evans' first movie. Although he had made a very small horror feature called Footsteps in 2006, this was his first big hit. And but for the fact that his wife was half Indonesian and half Japanese and had contacts in the film industry in Indonesia, he would have never got there. And he and Iko would never have met. That is pure serendipity.
John Cusack, Kate Beckinsale. Serendipity.
They say that once in
No, not that film. It's a terrible film. So Merantau wasn't a hit, but it was a spectacle that some people loved. But what was next for Iko? Well, he kind of had to rely on Evans for this, because Iko was not an actor. He wasn't about to start auditioning for the latest Indonesian TV soap. Wow, that's pretty cool. Let's watch that again. Or Hollywood movies. So what did Evans have up his sleeve next? Well, this is what he had up his sleeve. The Raid 2, an expansive crime lord movie that takes place all over a corrupt city. Fights, car crashes, dense storytelling. But the finances said no, forcing Evans to strip down the script hugely, and much to the benefit of everyone concerned. The Raid is basically a video game of a movie. Enter a building, get the bad guy, and survive. Now, considering Evans' horror roots, the movie plays more like a horror movie than an action movie, as we follow our lead character's struggle to survive. The Raid was exactly what everyone needed in that moment. It allowed Evans to be experimental in tight spaces with a tight script and a very tight budget, and it allowed Iko, who, let's remember again, had no acting training whatsoever, to do very little but fight some more. The Raid is a perfect storm of a movie. Budget $1.1 million and box office $9.3 million worldwide. But moreover, unlike a lot of pure action movies, it did extremely well at film festivals, getting a world premiere at the well-revered Toronto International Film Festival, and also being selected for Sundance and South by Southwest. This is a huge rarity for movies like this. Typically, these film festivals are populated by art house movies about a goat. The Raid was a huge hit, and its unassuming graphic design studying Driver Issa lead actor was now a global superstar in the action world. His energy, his fighting style, his empathetic eyes, all of these things puts him right at the top of the pile of new action stars. So what was next? Well, Keanu Reeves was next, because Keanu was making his directorial debut, Man of Tai Chi. And well, it wasn't quite the hit that needed to follow The Raid. With roughly a budget of $32 million and a box office of just $5 million, it was a turkey. Iko had a small supporting role in the movie. Now, let's remember, this is back in 2013. His English wasn't great at this point, which makes perfect sense. Again, he wasn't looking to be the next big action star as a kid, and even as an early adult. So all of this change and fame was very impromptu.
You owe me a life.
But whilst this movie was flopping, Evans was already cooking up something completely fresh.
Give your meat a good old rub. That's it. Nice and hot. Hot and spicy meat. Yeah, boy.
He was making the movie that he originally wanted to make. And in 2014, he released The Raid 2, the sequel to the original hit. The hype was real. More action, more story, more budget, more running time, and more Iko. And in this movie, Iko got to show off some of his acting chops, with a story that takes place over years as opposed to just a day, and way more characters. Now, some may say that's actually to the movie's detriment. The simplistic style of the first Raid movie maybe served Iko's real talent, his fighting, even better. But this movie does slap. So many iconic action scenes like this, and like this, and of course, like this. And that was it. The action game changed. Fighting scenes now had to be more fluid, less cutting. The original Raid showed everyone how to do it right, but Raid 2 really upped the ante. Smooth fight sequences that were kinetic and brutal. In the mid-2000s, movies like The Bourne Supremacy and Casino Royale came out, and they kind of shifted the way action movies were shot, especially how the fight scenes were shot. It started this terrible trend of shaky cam and cutting on action, and a lot of these cuts were to hide actors who weren't trained fighters' poor fighting skills. When Iko hit the scene along with Evans, there was way less cutting, and this was done to show off how great Iko and his fight partner's skills were. It was like poetry. Now, here's the thing about The Raid 2 that not many people actually know. The movie wasn't a massive success. On a larger budget of $4.5 million, it actually made less money than its predecessor at the box office, taking home a mere $6.5 million worldwide. Now, having said that, if you know Iko, it's most likely for this movie. Its cultural impact was huge. but its box office was not. But it was more of a problem for the studio than Iko himself, because now everyone wanted a piece of Iko.
Hi Merantau, my name is Iko Uwais and we are here at Thrill HV Jakarta.
J.J. Abrams, seemingly a fan of the Raid movies, decided to cast him and a couple of his fighting friends from the movies in his big-budget Star Wars reboot, The Force Awakens, which was extremely exciting at the time for anyone who was a massive fan of Iko. His big Hollywood moment in a massive franchise. This could be orgasmic.
Probably the best place to eat in all Los Angeles. It's excellent.
I certainly hope so. I could die of starvation before I get something in my mouth.
But no, he was basically cut out of the movie.
You gotta be kidding me.
In a blink and you miss it cameo. Which kind of felt like a waste for a movie with so many fight scenes. And 0 of them featuring Iko. J.J. Abrams said that he cut many scenes from the movie, not just Iko's scene, to make the movie more lean and on pace. Now, listen, hit the like button if you actually think that the movie would have been rather better had it just been 2 hours of Iko kicking ass than what we actually got.
And we'll remember this as the last day of the Republic!
Do me a favor, please. Get out of here. Get out of here, man.
Now, all of this meant that his big Hollywood debut was a bit of a washout. So in 2016, he kind of went back to Indonesia and made an action movie without Gareth Evans. It was called Headshot, and it was directed by the Mo brothers, a duo comprised of Kimo Stambol and Timo Jajanto. And it showed promise, directorially, and also showed that Iko had improved his acting abilities. And then in 2017, he shot and completed Triple Threat alongside legends such as Michael J. White, Scott Adkins, Tiger Chen, and of course Tony Jaa. But due to legal disputes, the movie was only released in 2019, meaning that before that, the underwhelming movie Beyond Skyline was released. And then Hollywood did come calling again, this time for Mile 22, a Mark Wahlberg headlining action movie, and a movie that perfectly highlights the differences between a great director like Evans and other directors. Now, Peter Berg, the director of Mile 22, is not a bad director. He's made hits like The Rundown, a really fun movie with The Rock.
You got the moves. I'll give you that.
As well as Lone Survivor and Deepwater Horizon. But the way the action was shot in Mile 22 was exactly how to waste Iko's skills. Overcut, cut in the wrong places, and poorly timed. Now, Iko did do the choreography for the fights, but ultimately, they are cut to pieces by the Hollywood style of editing. And with this movie and other massive Hollywood movies that Iko starred in, like Stuba, featuring Dave Bautista and Kumail Nanjiani, the action just feels so wrong. And for the same reasons, both movies flopped critically and did not set the world alight commercially, and both highlighted the differences between a quality directed and cut action movie and a movie trying to stick a bona fide action star in a feature and just hoping for the best. And in 2018, when he teamed up again with Timo Jajanto, who was one half of the Indonesian filmmaking duo the Mo brothers, for The Night Comes For Us, we got to see just how great action can be with Iko. With brilliantly captured and staged fighting scenes, mixing innovation with brutality. And the movie also got Iko to show off some of his acting chops, playing the antagonist. Now, this movie is a cult classic for any die-hard movie fight fans. And potentially top 2 in his filmography behind The Raid. Yes, that does mean that it's number 2 in front of the Raid 2, but I'll let you guys fight that out in the comments.
This boy's crazy.
2019 saw his show Wu Assassins hit Netflix, featuring Lewis Tan, Mark Dacascos, and the legendary Summer Glau. And that was followed by a movie for the series, as well as the Hollywood movies of G.I. Joe spin-off Snake Eyes, which flopped hard, and Expendables or Expendables 4 or whatever you want to call it, which also flopped hard too. And it should be noted, again, he was not the lead in any of these 2 movies. In fact, apart from Wu Assassins, his Netflix show, Iko Uwais has not been a lead in anything since Headshot back in 2016. And that is kind of shocking, because he was meant to be the next big thing. And in a way, he still is. Whenever his name is mentioned amongst a list of cast for a movie, he's always the one you're gonna watch out for. But after numerous Hollywood flops and a Netflix show which, let's face it, thoroughly underwhelmed, it seems like the big league just won't happen for Iko. A mixture of bad scripts, bad editing, people not understanding what he's good at, and not nailing it has been an issue. Most importantly, the fact that he's not been a lead in any movie since 2016 is quite alarming, and that seems like such a waste for a man who was meant to be the next big action star. However, it was announced recently that Iko is stepping behind the camera for the first time as a director. His action thriller Timur, which he's also set to star in, is set to be released under his new banner called Uwais Pictures. And this does seem promising. And what also seems promising is that he's going to be reuniting with his The Night Comes For Us director, Timo Tjahjanjo, who has gone from strength to strength over the years as a director, having just directed Nobody 2. They'll be making a movie called Neon Blood, which promises to be a neon-sode cyberpunk RPG adaptation, which also sounds awesome. It will also star Jessica Henwick, who was by far the best thing in Iron Fist, The Matrix Resurrections, and Glass Onion. And for anyone holding their breath for the Raid 3 and about to pass out via lack of oxygen, well, after the poorly received Havoc by Gareth Evans, it seems like he's been talking very positively about the idea of actually making the Raid 3. So it seems that unlike a lot of stars we've featured in the series, Iko's best years actually might be ahead of him as opposed to behind him, which is a rarity. But if unlike me, you're not excited for his future, well, let's face it, his past ain't too bad. Actually, in fact, it's damn great. Okay, ratings time. So for skills, unlike a lot of stars we've featured so far, he really only has one discipline in martial arts, but it's a hell of a discipline. On screen, when used properly, it's almost the best martial arts for movies. Now that might be something to do with the quality of the directors he's worked with, and also how good he is with the discipline, but in any event, I'm going to give him a 9 here. With movies, it's a really strange one because I do believe that his best years are potentially ahead of him with these crop of movies coming up. However, The Raid and The Raid 2 and The Night Comes For Us, and to a lesser extent, Headshot, are all great to good movies. And that is a very strong resume. I would argue that it might be one of the strongest in the series so far. But some of the flops do hit hard too as well. And the fact that also he's not been the lead in a movie for nearly a decade, apart from the spin-off of the Wu Assassin series, is rather, again, alarming. So I have to be fair here and give him an 8. However, The Raid and The Raid 2 are absolute bangers, so I think I'm going to give him a 9 here instead. For screen presence, Gareth Evans cast Iko, who hadn't acted a day in his life, in a lead role in 3 movies and potentially going to be a 4th, all based on his screen presence. This guy is a gem. He has to get a 9 here as well. For versatility, well, he's got better over the years with his versatility and his acting skills, now playing villains and acting a bit more in the roles that he's been given, but he's still not versatile enough for me. And of course, back to the fact that he's not been the lead for quite some time, it's got to be a 6 there. And finally, we have legacy. Well, honestly, sometimes all it takes is just one movie. Look at Bruce Lee. If you really look at his filmography, only really Enter the Dragon comes across as an incredible film. So I'm going to have to give Iko a 10 here. The Raid and The Raid 2 are still maybe the best ever martial arts movies ever made, especially the first Raid movie. Quite a subjective statement, granted, but being objective, both are classics and both are synonymous with Iko. So that gives him a score of 43, which ties him with Scott Adkins, which seemed fair based on the criteria. Now, recently the Van Damme video has just blown up crazily and just completely out of the blue. And a few of you have been commenting on that video in a very nice way, to be fair, that Van Damme should be above Scott Adkins and so forth. But based on the criteria laid out for each person, I don't think the ratings have lied so far. However, I'm always keen to hear your guys' thoughts on the rankings and the ratings and also on the videos themselves. So hit me up with your thoughts in the comments. Huge, massive love to all of you who hit the like button last time out on the Mark Dacascos video and got way over the 2,000 likes needed to make this video. In fact, that Mark Dacascos video has been a massive hit. So thank you so much to everyone who watched it and liked that video. Please do the same on this one and put the names of people in the comment who you think I should do a video about next. And what do you think? I mean, let's end this debate here and now. What's better, the Raid 1 or the Raid 2? Just in the comments, just let me know. We'll have a conversation about it in the comments. Again, massive love to all the Patreon members. You can become a Patreon member by clicking the link in the description. It's very simple. Or you can just become a YouTube member where you will get a lovely badge and also have your name in the credits right here on screen. Listen, peace out and big love.
Kan gue bilang, gue baru aja mulai.